Thank you. Thank you. Cheers. Welcome. How are we this month? I hope that you're having a great spooky day, that you're reading many spooky books, and you're having the best time of your life out there, trick-or-treating, or just at home with a very cozy book and a cozy TV series, because that is what I will do tonight. Welcome back to my channel, by the way. My name is Vanessa, for anyone who's never been here before. I just want to talk you through all the books that I read this month. So, here I am with my little mug. We have little spooky boy down here. Boiling. So, let's start with the books. Oh my goodness. I have a mixture of physical books, and then I have also some audiobooks, because I found out that I actually enjoy going on walks, and I started, just walking a lot for my mental health. I had quite a, I'm not really having the best time in my life recently, let's say it like that. And I found out that I actually enjoy going on long walks and being in London and being in a place of London where I'm surrounded by parks and nature, and I'm just by the river. I really enjoy just going there and just listening to the audiobook. So let's just talk about that first. My first audiobook, it's gonna be up here. Yes, it was Hidden Pictures, and holy moly, that book was something. I think that was one of the most engaging books that I have read this year. And I'm really glad that I picked it up, and I'm really glad that it was an audiobook, because the narration was just beautiful. The actress that was reading all the parts in it, fantastic. It was just smooth, and it was just like a lullaby in your ears all the time, even if it was talking about horrible stuff. Beautiful, just what I like. So what it talks about, it's a story of this nanny, and she goes to, she's a recovering addict, and we don't really know what's going on until the very end. She talks about what her trauma was. So her guardian sends her to a very rich and very well-established home where things seems to be perfect. So wife, husband, the baby is absolutely beautiful. But then things start, becoming very scary. Don't know if the book is taking a supernatural turn, or if it's all in the protagonist's head, which I think was the most interesting part, because right until the very end, you don't really know what kind of genre this book is. At one point, I really thought that it was going to be a supernatural horror, which it is, but it's not. I really do not want to spoil anything, but I feel like the pace is so engaging. Even the way that it's written, it feels like a movie script. It was great production, great audiobook and everything. So, also, I would really suggest picking up the actual book though, because it's all about these drawings that the little kid draws in the house. And we couldn't really see it, of course, in the audiobook, but the narration was perfect, so I could really just picture everything in my head. But I think if you want that spooky effect, pick up the physical book, because seeing them on paper, that would be fantastic. After that, we have this book. It's Wrong Place, Wrong Time by Gillian McAllister. And I really enjoyed this book. I feel like it's very much like a book club, like a weekend book club book. So it's very entertaining if you want something very light, but you still enjoy the crime, factor to it. So the story is about this murder that takes place in the first page of the book, so it's not a spoiler. Home, and at one point the mother hears something outside. She leaves the house, goes outside, and she sees that her son had just killed the man, and she doesn't know why, she doesn't know who the other man is, and the son was the classic nerdish, really well-behaved boy that would have never done anything like that. So that is a really good premise, especially because it's in the first page. Really fast-paced, but then after this, the most interesting part of the book starts, which is the protagonist, so the mum, starts traveling back in time, and she starts figuring out little things that she didn't know about the son, things that she didn't know about everyone else around her, and it's really engaging. I feel like if you want something that you can't put down, absolutely this one. And before I carry on with the next book, I feel like you might have realised by now that the actual theme of the month was scary books, or spooky things, or spooky stories, or classic books, or but I try not to go in the very recommended books that are on Bookshop or Booktube, whatever, because I feel like everyone knows about them, and even when I haven't read them, I know what they talk about, so it just takes away from the magic and the mystery of a cozy, scary, haunting book, which is my favorite thing. So yeah, my next one is this one. So it's Things We Say in the Dark. This is a collection of short stories. For this book, I find the stories were really interesting, because some of them were some of the scariest things I've ever read. I'm not even joking, but the atmosphere and stories were absolutely fantastic. For example, I think it was the first story. Yes, first and second story. Beautiful, absolutely beautiful. There were some though that were a bit of a repetition, I think. But anyway, I think it's a great book. In the middle as well, you have these illustrations between stories, which are, I think, the author's illustrations, like that. And I feel like it just adds something more to the whole story. All these stories have female characters, and all these female characters talk about modern aspects that might be translated into actual fears, not just literal fears. For example, if you read the blurb at the back, it just says, "These dark tales explore women's fear with electrifying honesty and invention, and speak to one another about female bodies, domestic claustrophobia, desire and balance." So it's like having all the anxieties and fears that you might get from a just from a fictitious novel, but there's always something that talks about actual fears that you might find in your daily life, especially if you're a woman, and in some of them if you're a queer woman as well. So I would really highly recommend. On the same bandwagon, okay, I feel like I might add this one to the pile of read books, even if I didn't really finish it, because it's the same thing. So it's a collection of short stories, and it's this one. It looks absolutely stunning. It's Cursed Bunny by Bora Chung. This one was shortlisted for the Booker Prize from this year, and I feel like it's just genius, absolutely genius. If you talk about many different genres, we talk about horror, we talk about thriller, we talk about realism, sci-fi, post-apocalyptic, you might not enjoy it if you're not used to translated Asian literature, which is why I think, this is a really good starting point if you want to dive into that kind of literature. I feel like when Asian books are translated into English, they might sound a bit dry. And I think that is a translation issue. I don't think it's part of the literature itself, but I enjoy it at the same time because it's very straightforward, and I feel like that is what I liked about this. I'm just adding it to this bio because I feel like it's very similar to the book that I talked about before, and it's very Halloween-y. So another book I read this month, it was a very short book, and it was actually on Kindle, so I don't really have the physical copy with me, but it's this one. It's I Want to Die But I Want to Eat Tteokbokki, which again, yes, Slay Queen. I read this book because, as I said before, my mental health is not doing great, and I really like reading books that I can relate to. And this book talks about the protagonist first time actually in therapy, and it's basically just a transcript of the therapist session. And I find it really interesting because you can see the character's development in the book, and it just progresses every time she goes to therapy. Some things are not solved. Sometimes she gets very frustrated with herself and with the therapist because she just cannot get how to change things or how to make it better, why she's like that. But I feel like it's a very interesting read to see how the human minds react to therapy, or how it just changes with time and with experience, and I found it really comforting. And then we have the last 2 books that I read this month. I have to make a preface for this because these 2 books are part of a new book that I'm trying to record, but it's taking some time. So the video itself is basically me asking my boyfriend to come to my favorite bookshop and pick up 3 random books. So hear me out. My boyfriend, he's very into fantasy, doesn't really read fiction or non-fiction, and I asked him to pick me 3 books. So one has to be one of my favorite sort of crime thriller horror, great. The second one has to be a fantasy that he thinks I might enjoy, and the third one might be something completely random that he can just pick up, and I just have to read them. I can't DNF them, I cannot change them in the bookshop, and oh my god, the choices were interesting. So I do not want to talk too much into details about what I thought about these books and the process of reading these books, because I feel like there's so much to talk about here. So for the crime and thriller, he chose The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, and I was really excited about this one because I've been wanting to read this for a while, but I was sort of scared to pick it up because I know it's quite dark. Like, I like dark stuff, but this is an other level darkness, and it's a fantasy book. He picked up this one. Let's start from this one, right? So this is King of Battle and Blood, and he thought that this was going to be one of those very interesting fantasy books with a very strong female characters, and it's not. It's a smut. Okay, hear me out. I hated this. I hated this with a passion. This was horrible. It's a story of this woman that she is the princess of a kingdom. We don't really know what kind of kingdom is, but yes. So there's apparently a virus that turns humans into zombies, creatures, whatever. And on the other side we have this Adrian guy who is the king of prince, well, he's gonna become king, whatever, of the vampire kingdom, and he wants to conquer the princess's kingdom. So he basically forces her into marriage. He uses his powers to make her feel smutty things, spicy things, and she sort of falls for him, but it's just jealousy, and I do not know. Okay, I'll talk about this more in details when I will actually just compare the 3 books that he bought for me. But this is wrong. This is wrong on so many levels. There's no plot. There is no one that I was rooting for. I really didn't care about the characters. None of them. Especially the girl, the princess. Oh my god, she is annoying. She's so annoying until the very last page. But, hear me out, I could not put this one down. I could not put it down, and I read it in 2 days. So I feel like I know what this author is doing. So it's just so bad but you kind of want to see how it ends. And the way that it's written is very easy to go through anyway. So I read it, entertainment and laughters, oh, 5-star, absolutely. But book itself, 1. Sorry. But if we talk about this book, like this book, this was something. This was horror, this was thriller, this was crime, this was finance. I feel like I have a degree in finance after reading this book. This is great. I don't know why I've never picked this up before. I feel like if you read this book, you have to start thinking it will get better. But it's a story of this journalist that is offered a new job by a stranger at first, but then he'll see that it's got ties with the family in some way. I do not want to spoil it. And this new job is about investigating the murder, the mystery, the disappearance of this girl that no one really knows anything about, and it will uncover many dark and creepy secrets. And I could not put this down. After those initial 200 pages, oh my god, this is just crime at its finest. I watched the film after reading the book, and I could not sleep at night. So there are many trigger warnings for this book. Many trigger warnings. Apart from that, great book. And the female protagonist, Lisbeth, she's a great character. It's one of those characters that you will never discover everything about them, because every single time there's always something that will come up and you'll be like, okay, now I know why. But yes, so this is my wrap up for the month of October. I am really happy with what I read. I didn't think that I could read so much in a month. But yeah, it's been a great month. I love this kind of books, and I will definitely carry on like this. So thank you so much for joining me, and I'll wait for you in my next videos, and enjoy your Halloween and your spooky season. Bye!